What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here. I got making a video because there is some news out, Dolphins news, that I want to give to you. The Dolphins have made a roster move. They signed a contract. It's for an existing player already on the team. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see. This is being reported by multiple outlets, sources. This particular article coming from CBS Sports. Dolphins signed Jason Sanders to extension that reportedly makes him one of NFL's highest paid kickers. As the NFL approaches free agency and the draft, the Miami Dolphins have taken care of some in-house business. On Tuesday, the club announced they have come to terms with kicker Jason Sanders on a 5-year extension that keeps him linked to the organization through the 2026 season. According to Adam Schefter of ESPN, the deal is worth $22 million and includes a $10 million guarantee, or $10 million in guarantees. Sanders was entering the final year of his contract in 2021 that had a base salary of $920,000. This extension now makes him one of the highest paid kickers in the NFL, with an average annual value to his extension sitting at $4.4 million. Only Baltimore's Justin Tucker at $5 million. The Giants' Graham Gano at $4.66 million, and Houston's Kaimi Fairbairn at $4.41 million are above him from an AAV standpoint for 2021. So Miami essentially views him as a top 5 player at his position. The 25-year-old was selected by the Dolphins in the 7th round of the 2018 NFL Draft out of New Mexico. Since then, Sanders has proven to be one of the better kickers in the game and just earned first-team All-Pro honors for his 2020 season when he converted 92.3 of his field goals and all 36 of his extra point attempts. For his career, Sanders has netted 86.5% of his field goals, 12 for 15 from 50-plus yards, and has a 98% conversion rate on those extra points. Miami is one of the handful of teams with a strong cap situation heading into free agency, so it wouldn't be surprising to see them be active over the next few months with free agents and in-house players they want to keep for the long haul. Okay, so there's definitely several things to say here. First and foremost, I want to say that overall, I definitely love the signing of Jason Sanders. Obviously, an extension. He is definitely, I believe, one of the top 5 players at his position. I would say top 3. Even you can make a case for. And so that's good on them. Obviously, my opinion, I'm not really big on a lot of the moves that the Dolphins have made over the past couple years, but this is a good one for sure. The only slight concern I have is the fact that he is a kicker and they are paying him like one of the top in the league, and I don't have a problem with that necessarily. Like, he's definitely worth it. I think he's that kind of player and certainly should be paid like one of the top at his position. The problem is, and they mentioned that the Dolphins are sitting at a good cap space right now, and that is true, certainly. As it currently stands, the Dolphins do have are in the top 10 for cap space. I just real quick, I pulled up on overthecap.com, and the Dolphins currently sit at, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8th overall in cap space with $26 million. Okay, now the team that has the most cap space currently is the Jaguars at $77.5 million. And at the bottom of the pack, last in the league, is the Saints, currently with apparently a negative $69 million. I'm not sure exactly, so from the Bills on down, all these numbers are in red. So I'm assuming that's, but I'm not exactly sure what this means. I don't see any, any real explanation of why it's in the red. All it tells me here is the calculations: cap space equals team salary cap minus active cap spending minus dead money. So they give you how they get that, which is cool, but it doesn't tell me why these are in red. I don't imagine it's because they're in the negatives. Anyway, point is that the Saints are at the bottom, just for perspective, at the bottom of the list with a red $69 million, and then Jaguars are at the top with $77.5 million in surplus money. Anyway, Dolphins are sitting at number 8 on this list. So it's true they are in the top half of the league for cap space at $26 million. However, They do have several young players, including Jason Sanders, who are going to be up for contracts. Not to mention last year, so they have 26 million right now, but last year they had over 150 million. Okay, going into last offseason. So yes, they might be in the top 8 for available cap space in the league right now, but that's not taking in. But the overall picture of their cap space situation isn't fully explained by just that number, right? So it doesn't take into account the fact that they spent over 100 million, last year in offseason with those big name free agents, right? So, and they're still going to have to continue to pay those guys. They still have, two of the top highest paid corners in the league in Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. Xavier Howard wants a new contract. There have been talks and reports about that. Not to mention, there's possibility of Deshaun Watson. I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously we have to wait and see how all of this stuff plays out. I think the Dolphins are a high probability location for him to end up, should he end up leaving the Texans. But obviously there's no guarantee of it. But if they were to do that, that would obviously be a pretty big hit there too. So again, just, overall, I love it. It's just my only concern is the fact that they are going to be running into cap issues in the not so distant future, especially when you then add on to that the fact that the cap space, the cap is going to go down over the next few seasons, not up like it normally does because of how coronavirus has affected everything already to this point, let alone how it's going to continue to affect things. Also, though, I do want to make a note of, because I have talked, I've talked plenty of times about how with this organization as it currently is constructed with, Chris Greer at the top, Marvin Allen, Reggie McKenzie, being in that decision-making circle, and then Brian Flores, of course, and then Stephen Ross, of course. But anyway, as it's currently constructed, I've mentioned a million times about how their evaluation abilities seem to be lacking, both when it comes to players and coaches, because there has been an ungodly amount of turnover on this roster and within the coaching staff, right? So obviously in 2019 we completely tanked and in order to do so, gutted the roster. There was tons of turnover last offseason. There's already been a decent amount this season, and there's expected to be a decent amount more, and we haven't even actually got into the offseason yet, right? And so, they haven't really even begun anything. They've signed a couple futures contracts and stuff, and Jason Sanders to an extension, but that's really it, because the offseason hasn't actually begun yet. But there is expected to be a decent amount. And then obviously we know that, there's been a new offensive coordinator each year, et cetera, et cetera. They've had like 5 offensive line coaches. Anyway, so there's definitely some question and concern there. But I wanted to note, though, that it seems like the only players that they feel confident in re-signing and bringing back or keeping around are players that were drafted by the organization right before them. So Jason Sanders is an example. Xavier Howard, Jakeem Grant, Isaiah Ford, Jerome Baker, Devon Godshaw. Now, Mike Gesicki. Now, there's a range of, statuses there, right? Like Gesicki's a starter, and Isaiah Ford's not, right? But serviceable backup there. But all of those guys are players from the immensely great drafts that Adam Gase had, and those seem to be the only players that they're really even confident in bringing back. Conversely, on the other side of things, they've cut now 3 players from their own drafts, right? So they're keeping all these they feel more confident in keeping more players from the past few drafts than they have decided to cut their own, right? So, because Isaiah Prince, Chandler Cox, and then Curtis Weaver, right? So 3 of their draft selections from the previous 2 drafts, their first 2 drafts, have already been cut, and I just think that's interesting. and you know, is just another little data point in the overall greater context of things, and you know, part of my evaluation. So, you know, all in all, summary when it comes to this move of signing Jason Sanders, on its face and in and of itself, I love it. I love Jason Sanders. I love him as a player. You know, and I think he deserves the payday, especially since, you know, he was coming to the end of his contract. Having said that, once you get into it more and deeper, I do have some concerns with it, primarily related to the cap space, and not really so much because of this particular signing, but how they've decided to go about using their cap space in total, in general, all around, right? So, you know, again, I'm not one of those kinds of people that would be big spenders in free agency. I don't like it, and I also have concern overall because of their evaluation process and their ability to evaluate, again, having nothing to do directly with Jason Sanders or this particular move, just obviously, you know, a concern that I've had overall. And I do think that it is a little bit funny that, you know, there's a bunch of these players that they are, you know, on a roster in which it is damn near impossible to determine any player that, you know, you could identify as being able to stick around for the long term. It's nearly impossible to do that with this organization. So having that, you know, be the case, it seems funny that, you know, the guys who seem to have some of the best sticking power and ability seem to be guys that were drafted by the previous regime, and this regime doesn't seem to be able to have the ability to really fucking get anything right with their own draft picks, and have in fact cut 3 of them already just in the first 2 years. So yeah, all right, that's all I got for right now. That's how I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.